Dr. Musumali, let's quickly get into it and talk about the big news here from the Socialist Party. And one thing that is on everybody's minds is the fact that recently we did see the Patriotic Front and the Socialist Party clash. And even just from the 2021 general elections, your candidate that you had fielded in from Shiwangandu constituency was involved in something similar like this. But don't you think having to support the PF member, these two PF members, will sort of distort the leadership of the party in Kwacha and Kabushi constituencies?
So again, our decision or the decision of the Central Committee is based on principle. There's a lot of impunity in Zambian politics today. If you look at how criminal justice is being implemented, if you look at how elections are being used to sort out perceived opponents, we are heading in the wrong direction. There's need to send a clear message to ourselves, to the electorates, that things can be done differently. Politics is about serving the people. But as we do that, regardless of where we stand and regardless of our differences in terms of ideologies, something must be observed, and that's fairness. It has to be there. There's no fairness, for example, in continued detention of an individual without proper trial. We are not saying people are not corrupt. The PF, as a party, is known to have been corrupt, actually. And we still know that even the UPND, there's a lot of corruption within the UPND. But when you're dealing with individuals, there has to be that element of fairness. And we're not seeing that fairness. And when you start using the electoral process to sort out those issues, to sort out political issues, and bring in elements of unfairness, we are saying no to that. We don't want to be part of that. And we are sending a clear message to everyone that the Socialist Party is not going to be part of that.
I know that as a Socialist Party, one of the key things you stand for, yes, peace and justice are among them.
Yeah.
But when you talk about unfairness, what exactly are you linking this to when you speak of unfairness for Mr. Lusambo and for Mr. Malanji here? So
the first thing is that we are not the only ones talking about unfairness. You have a constitutional court judge who is saying they're not in agreement with what was decided. So it's not just the lay people. It's actually the people themselves, the judges are saying they are not agreeing. Some of them or one of them is saying, no, this is not fair. And of course, also from our standpoint, things could have been done differently. We disagree with that judgment. When you use the judicial process for political ends, this country goes nowhere. We saw it in the previous government, and we are seeing those trends there. So our stand is based on that. We are saying there is continued persecution of individuals that's politically motivated. The activities, the crimes that the people are being accused of must be investigated thoroughly. If they are found guilty, the law must take its course. But that has to be done in a decent way, in a fair way. And that's not being seen. As soon as elections are announced, there's high intensity in terms of interrogating these people, as if the police were unaware of those activities. Now that the time has come, there are plans to arrest these people, to detain them. The timing is wrong, and this is politically motivated. And as a political party, we are trying to grow, we are trying to build a party, and the people are accepting us. Today, we are the fastest growing political party in Zambia. On the Copper Belt, we are doing far much better than in many other provinces. Despite that, we are not opportunists. We are saying this, what's happening to these two, is also going to happen to us. It will happen to anyone else. And so long there's that element of unfairness, we have to take a principled stand.
Does this make the Socialist Party question the autonomy of the judiciary as well? And I ask this question considering that there are also members of the Patriotic Front who contested as members of parliament. One had their elections appealed, but the courts still upheld their election. But we've seen this happen for these two members of the Patriotic Front. But despite all of this and what has happened, is it an isolated case for these two, or it makes you question the autonomy of the judiciary in general?
As a Socialist Party, we take each case according to its merit. We are saying we are going case by case and asking ourselves, is there fairness in dealing with this? But let's also not be blind to the failures of the entire judiciary system in Zambia. We have said it openly that we have one of the most corrupt judiciary systems in the entire world. Has it been reformed? Has it changed overnight? The answer is no. So as Zambians, let's not pretend that everything is okay. We have a system, we have a judiciary system that is corrupted to the bone. The entire Zambian society is corrupt. The judiciary is not an exception. And a lot of decisions being made have got those corrupt elements. They have got a lot of political pressure that go behind that. And that's the reality of Zambia today. And we have to call a spoon, a spoon. A spade, a spade.
Sorry, before Justin come in, Justin, sorry. One of the things that has been brought up, especially in the case of Mr. Lusambo, some of the grounds that were brought up, issues of violence, a group called the NATO Forces, who probably, if you ask even members of your party, would tell you that they probably had an encounter with these individuals at some point. And what was also brought up even to the courts was that Mr. Lusambo was seen at some point mingling with these people in the middle of some of this confusion that was going on. This came up there, but is this part of what you feel has been unfair leading on to the verdict of the court?
We were some of those that were affected by that. Our own members, as individuals, we were affected by that violence. The PF was a very violent party, just like the UPND is. Let's take away all the pretense. So we're actually dealing with people who victimized us. As a Socialist Party, we always told our members, don't react. And we were at the receiving end, and still are at the receiving end, despite all the rhetorics. But we are saying, if we have to be national leaders, and we are national leaders, we are the government in waiting, we are the next government, things have to be done differently. We are not petty. We are looking at the bigger picture for this country. And that's what is making us arrive at these decisions. So even Lusambo, despite everything else, all the accusations against him, despite us having been victims, he is a Zambian entitled to a fair process. You can't be calling him, squeezing him every day. Do your investigations, get him arrested, and charge him. As simple as that. But this cannot be every 3 hours, this person is being called, this person is being told this story. Please, where are the procedures?
But we also find this a bit interesting because the acting president of the Patriotic Front did talk about them respecting the verdict of the court. Mr. Lusambo himself welcomed the decision by the court, but the Socialist Party is coming to say it was unfair?
The Socialist Party has talked of the unfairness with the judgment when it comes to Malanji. The Socialist Party is saying that what's happening to Lusambo now on an everyday basis is unfair. So apart from the judgment of the court, look at the whole picture, what is going on today. And do you think the law enforcement are acting on their own? The impunity with which they are handling these issues?
I would like to drive this conversation towards some of the allegations coming through from members of the public. You mentioned that the Socialist Party obviously is not looking for an opportunity here, but many saying it seems otherwise, because when you look at the situation on ground now, we cannot evade the fact that, yes, the PF is in a position of it being shaky and crumbling. Regardless of all of that, we have seen senior members of the Patriotic Front, in this case Joseph Malanji and Bowman Lusambo, who have had this issue now come up. And would you say that this is a coincidence that the Socialist Party is trying to take up something like this in endorsing the candidature of both Mr. Malanji and Mr. Lusambo? Or maybe this is a hidden political agenda here for the Socialist Party to sort of grow their numbers on the Copperbelt province, seeing that this is what you have been actively doing in the last couple of months?
So we have been growing our numbers without resorting to the PF, without resorting to Mr. Malanji or to Mr. Lusambo. But what we are doing is that we have principles. We make decisions based on our principles. And again, I repeat, we are not opportunistic in the way we deal with our issues. So today we have two candidates that are supposed to be standing, and we see huge intimidation and fairness around these two candidates. You know, this is like somebody who has fallen down, and you keep on beating this person, you keep on stepping on them. That's unfair. And we have consulted a good number of our members, a good number of our leaders, and we are telling ourselves, for this purpose, let's send a clear message to Zambian democracy that this impunity must be brought to an end. And we are making one of the biggest sacrifices a political party can ever make. That is not participating and saying, let's support the one who is turning to be a victim. No political party has ever done that. We are doing it out of principle.
You speak of principle as well, and what the principal message has been of the Socialist Party is socialism in itself. And the people that you are supporting here, many have questioned whether these are socialists. Has that been put into consideration as well, their beliefs and their ideologies?
So socialism is about justice, it's about equity, it's about peace. That's what socialism is all about. If you take away justice, if you take away equity, if you take away peace, then there's no socialism. It just becomes rhetoric. So this is not just an ideology that's abstract. Are we seeing justice in what is going on? The answer is no. Is there some equity in handling corruption issues? No. If there was equity, the fertilizer scandal would have been dealt with. If there was equity, the Minister of Foreign Affairs receiving a briefcase, that would have been investigated. And many more acts of corruption within the UPND, they would have been dealt with. We are not seeing equitable application of justice. We are not seeing justice itself. And if you don't have justice and equity in a country, there's not going to be any peace in this country. So we are sending that message and saying, regardless of whether we agree ideologically with Malanji, with Lusambo or not, but these are Zambians, this is a political process, a democratic process that deserves to have that element of justice in it.
So you're looking at it from your perspective and what you stand for, and not exactly if these candidates stand for that. So why not speak out against this as you feel, like the way you've expressed yourselves, but at the same time still field your candidates who you are confident believe in these three main values of socialism? Why didn't you go down that route? But at the same time, yes, speak out for these people, but go with a candidate, because what you're trying to do is promote socialism, and you could have put in candidates who stand for the values of socialism to contest these two constituencies.
So by so doing, you are being tactical. You are not walking the talk. All you are saying is, we believe there has to be justice, but here is our candidate to compete. That's not the way to go about things. We are saying we don't believe in what is going on. There's no justice here. And to demonstrate it, to walk the talk, we are not participating in this process. We are not going to be part to this injustice. It is injustice.
Don't you think it would have been better, as opposed to showing this sign during this campaign period, it being better with you having a candidate in these constituencies who promote this agenda for the remaining 4 years into 2026 as the representative for these people here, even in Parliament? Don't you think that would have been the longer-term solution to this?
The agenda is promoted by sending a clear message. The route you are taking is an indirect one, because at the end of the day, you are still going ahead and fielding your candidate. It doesn't have the same impact. What we want here is impact, the greatest impact in showing our principles. And we achieve that by staying away, by actually saying, instead of us having a candidate, we are going to support the candidate who we feel injustice is being meted on.
Even if they do not stand for those
Exactly,
values.
exactly. And we'll do that to another candidate where we feel there's injustice here.
Have you, we have seen in the past the Socialist Party and the Patriotic Front have had their issues, but from what you had addressed yesterday, from your briefing, have you engaged the Patriotic Front on what you are going to be doing moving forward in Kabusha and
Absolutely not. We have no pact with the Patriotic Front.
Well, you are actively endorsing the candidature.
We have no pact with the Patriotic Front. We are supporting the individuals because of what is happening around them. And through that, we are sending a clear message to Zambian democracy. That's what we are doing. We haven't gone to President Lubinda and others, to the Secretary General, and negotiated a deal with them. We haven't done that and will not do that. Simple.
Others have seen this as a strategic move by the Socialist Party to perhaps have certain conversations with the two candidates and possibly have them join the Socialist Party, maybe riding off their popularity in their constituencies and possibly see them as candidates in 2026. How true is this?
The truth is that there has been no such discussions. The truth is that we had candidates ready ourselves. There were recommendations that were being made. The provincial structures gave us a name of candidates, very credible candidates. But we sat and consulted and said, what are we sending? What's this message that we are sending? So we are not banking. This is not a tactical decision that today we do a favor and then in 2026 we'll be together. We haven't reached that far. It's not true.
What kind of impact do you think this is going to have, seeing that you are continuously trying to promote this agenda that you have here? What kind of impact do you think it will have on Zambia's democracy?
I think we are enriching Zambian democracy. When you emphasize principles, when you emphasize certain values, here it is. It's already causing a discussion. It's causing a dialogue, and this dialogue must continue. Zambia has to have different ways of looking at things, and this is something that must be encouraged. And you are asking questions. The general public is asking questions, and that's why we are here. And we are standing, we are saying principles come before tactical decisions.
As we conclude, that statement you've made, Dr. Musumali, some people still tend to disagree because the common sentiment here is that the Socialist Party is really not standing by their principles for them endorsing people who've not come out openly as socialists. And they feel that it's going against the values of socialism. Yes, you have made it, you made it clear from your perspective that you are doing this by expressing your values of socialism, going through this route. But many disagree with your choice of candidates, that these people do not believe in socialism and you could have done better. And this is going against that.
So yesterday, President, remember, gave some bit of an analog. The woman, the sinner, and the stoning. And of course, there were people out there who said, Christ, are you really the Son of God? How do you allow this sinner, somebody who has committed adultery, to go scot-free? So in life, at times, even the people that are called sinners, the people that have to be stoned, some element of fairness has to be there. And you have to demonstrate it in a much, much stronger way, in a much result way. And there's no better way of doing it than what the Socialist Party has done. We are not a capitalist party. We are not part of PF. But we stand to those principles. Those principles guide us above everything else.
Just before we wrap it up, we know that politics is a game of numbers. So would you rather you lose out on gaining momentum in Copper Belt because of the alleged injustice that you're saying that has been that has affected these two individuals, Joseph Malanji and Bowman Lusambo?
So indeed, you are right that politics is a game of numbers. But you have to achieve those numbers based on certain principles. We are doing that, and we are still going to participate in other elections. There are other by-elections coming, and the Socialist Party will always stand. But if there are going to be similar cases like this, we'll also make our stand clear. As each case comes, we'll evaluate it and make a decision. Are we going to lose people that way? The answer is no. We are not going to lose people. You are underestimating how Zambians respond, the understanding of Zambians. The Zambians see that there's lack of justice, that there are lack of principles in the political arena. And the Socialist Party is growing fast simply because of that. It's anchored on those values. It's anchored on those principles. We are not going to lose people. We are not going to lose popularity. Zambians out there are looking for this. They are yearning for this. And that's what the Socialist Party is providing.
Despite the possible members of the party who had shown interest to participate, because then there goes an opportunity for them to participate in this election.
The opportunity in transforming Zambia does not happen in one day. The opportunity in transforming Zambia does not happen over one by-election. These are leaders of the party, members of the party, and they know that their time is going to come.